everyone. In this interview, we're clarifying the manifestation in the mind in relation to existential relationships with dimensional beings. Now, this we're not speaking particularly within the context of psychics and channels. Those relationships will be walked in detail within the Journeys into the Afterlife series and the Spirituality series that will be walked. For the moment, we're focusing on the relationship with dimensional beings in the minds of ordinary human beings that are not channels and psychics, and the nature of these relationships within believing that one is having either a friendship or a sexual or a negative or bad conflicting relationship with a being or beings from races within the interdimensional heaven existence, and where those relationships within your mind is impacting and affecting your mental and physical functioning within this world and reality. Now, for context, we have, since Destiny started within cyberspace, had countless amounts of human beings coming to the forums and sharing their experiences with dimensional beings and races within the context of friendship, sexual, and abusive relationships, where these relationships had harmed and compromised and influenced their mental and physical functioning. And even though the variations of stories are different, the main point in relation to what such beings are actually facing within their minds and themselves and their living is as follows. Now, as we have walked in the history of the Destiny material and videos, is that in 1998, the entire heaven existence was separated from the physical existence, where everything within the mind and the physical and being relationship had become automated. And within the minds of human beings were inserted various simulations and replicas of heaven. So no one had direct contact with heaven, in fact. The processes of channelings and psychics exactly equal and one the same, where they'd been completely cut off, and the beings that they were channeling or seeing or communicating with were in fact simulations. And that entire history of channel psychics and the exclusion of heaven within the physical existence will be walked in the Spirituality series as well as Journeys into the Afterlife series. But for now, the focus and the primary point is to understand that whatever one does experience within one's mind in relation to the heaven existence is just that, a simulation, where within the very mind consciousness system of human beings in the unconscious mind was manifested the entire heaven existence with everything and everyone in it. And with that, if beings would thus form a relationship with that simulated heaven existence, or beings within that simulated heaven existence in your mind consciousness system in the unconscious, you will thus make that relationship an accepted part of your mind and of your beingness. And within that acceptance will thus experience a relationship with those beings as though it is in fact real, when it is not. I mean, if one have a look at, for example, your mind consciousness system, in essence, the thoughts that you have, your internal conversations, your reactions, they're all essentially simulations of separated, manifested parts of yourself. And because you have accepted those parts within yourself as yourself, they become the controlling dominance of you, your mind, your living, and your physical experience. So one can essentially say that if you are experiencing dimensional beings within your mind and any form of relationship toward those beings, that is equal to and one with your relationship with thoughts, is simply a more evolved version of your thoughts. And that in accepting and allowing that relationship with dimensional, interdimensional beings as a simulation thereof in your mind, even within the inversion of process that has manifested within existence as a whole, where each being's mind is now your own absolute responsibility, whatever you have accepted or formed a relationship with and defined yourself to accordingly will thus still remain within your mind, yourself, your life, to be transcended. And thus, even now within this physical existence, there are no dimensional, interdimensional beings that are communicating or channeling or connecting with psychics in any way whatsoever, because all of that was stopped due to the extent of abuse that has manifested in the minds of human beings in their relationship with interdimensional, dimensional beings, and even just the simulations thereof. So our entire existence within heaven, we've decided to stop all such participation within existence. And thus, the only communications or relationships that are in fact being formed with dimensional, interdimensional beings is simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings. And there is only this one point as the portal that now exists within existence, where interdimensional, dimensional beings actually come through and communicate to only this and through this one point. The reason for that is explained and walked within the Journeys into the Afterlife series, as well as the Reptilian series as the history of mankind, in where it is clearly explained why only the portal exists as the connection between heaven and earth, and why only one point. But primarily as well, one can imagine within the minds of human beings how all would form different relationships with the interdimensional, dimensional existence based on their own frames of reference, their own interests. And that also one of the primary reasons why we stopped the existential connection to the communication of dimensional, interdimensional beings, in only having this one point where we know we all speak in absolute equality and oneness. So for the history on all of that, we suggest listening to those series. And for those that are now in their experience of believing that they're having relationships with dimensional, interdimensional beings, to realize that it's not real, it's a simulation within your mind. And we understand that it seems real, but one can, just as one's process of being able to stop thoughts, you're able to stop those or such relationships in your own mind for simply not accepting and allowing yourself to participate in it. And what one will realize is that those relationships that you're experiencing in your mind in relation to dimensional, interdimensional simulations, you were always the one initiating it. You'd think about it, you'd go into memories, into past experiences, and activate and initiate that whole system in your mind, and within that replay the same scenarios in various ways over and over and over again, which is the same that happens with one's internal conversations. Those beings are like internal conversations you have with yourself, just in the form of beings, where your very internal conversations or back chats you have is initiated by thoughts, memories, past experiences that do activate and initiate, and then those internal conversations start looping over and over and over again. The same with the relationships with beings. Now, there are some human beings with severe cases in terms of this relationship with these simulated dimensional and interdimensional beings. So if you are still a functioning being that's existing in this reality and have been able to manage that relationship in still being able to practically function, live, and exist within this world, in this reality, we suggest to assist and support yourself within the processes of writing and self-forgiveness and self-corrective application to release yourself from those mind relationships of these simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings, which you walk your process of realizing that you are accepting and allowing that relationship to exist within you. I mean, it's the same as what you would have a relationship with a human being that's, for example, abusive. And, I mean, physically in reality, you will not accept and allow it in your world and will therefore walk away. The same you do within the relationships that exist within your mind. You simply stop and walk away and do not accept and allow yourself to participate. And to primarily focus on actual physical reality, what it is that you can see with your physical human eyes. And I mean, that exact same process is with beings that are walking through their mind consciousness system, the thoughts, internal conversations, reactions, emotions, feelings. They're in the process of stopping those accepted and allowed relationships with writing, self-forgiveness, self-corrective application. Because, I mean, imagine if you would project your thoughts, your internal conversations, your reactions into actual embodiments, and they're constantly using and abusing and nagging and speaking over and over and over again. I mean, there's only so much that you're in physical, practical reality going to tolerate of that until you stop it and walk away. The same process is what's happening in your mind. You simply have to stop it, breathe, not participate, and focus on your physical, practical living, yourself, your life. And I mean, it's a decision that you have to make and to realize within yourself that if you're going to continue that relationship in your mind with those simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings, which is only existing in your mind, and you'll be able to realize for yourself in just stopping it, not participating. What we mean by not participating is whenever it comes up, you simply take a breath, you release an out breath, and you can do some writing to assist and support yourself within the self-forgiveness. Like, for example, I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed such an abusive relationship with a simulated dimensional, interdimensional being in my mind. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that this relationship is only existing in my mind. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed this relationship to continue in my mind when it is affecting, compromising, and harming my mental and physical stability in this actual, real, physical reality. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to give these simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings the time of day in my mind reality when physical reality, as what is real, is passing me by. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to stop these relationships, these abusive relationships in my mind, but accepted and allowed it to continue by my very attention and participation within it, instead of taking a breath, breathing, stopping participation, saying no, and focusing on my actual living. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to realize that the simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings is based on the same principle as my thoughts. The more I give it attention, the more I pay it attention, the more I participate in it, the more it will continue until I decide to stop and focus on me and my living in actual physical reality. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed myself to believe that what is happening in my mind is real, when my very physical breath and the reality of my human physical body and the processes that is in fact happening here right now to give me the opportunity to live in this reality that I had not seen, that the reality of what is really going on here with my breathing, my physical, and that my mind in my relationship with these simulated dimensional beings is in no way contributing to my actual living in reality, but compromising, harming, and abusing me. I forgive myself that I've accepted and allowed such abuse to continue in my mind instead of stopping it. I forgive myself that I haven't accepted and allowed myself to see, realize, and understand that I have the ability to stop it within simply making a decision of me not accepting and allowing myself to participate in that abuse in my mind, but rather focus me on my living within this actual physical reality. So that's an example for you to consider in relation to self-forgiveness, which is the process of assisting and supporting yourself to release the relationships within your mind that you've been accepting and allowing and participating in, to bring yourself back here into actual physical reality. I mean, yes, way back in the past, before 1998, these or such relationships did exist in between the races and dimensional beings. And many of them were really evil, if you will, in nature, because those relationships were specifically pre-programmed to make sure that beings remain enslaved to those relationships and not focus on themselves and their living. But after 1998, everything became internalized, only within the mind of the individual. And I mean, if you have a look, the amount of time you're spending on participating in these mind relationships with these simulated interdimensional beings, that is simply contributing to the velocity and extent to which you're experiencing it in your mind. When you move yourself to focusing on your actual physical living, your life in this physical world, to what you can see only with your human physical eyes, that reality in your mind will slowly but surely start disappearing, because it's based on energy. And I mean, one can even see and go deeper within that and having a look at why is it that you haven't stopped these things going on in your mind. What relationship or definition have you accepted and allowed in relation to these relationships? Do they make you feel more special, more important, more superior? Do they give you purpose? Do they give you value? Do you use them to manipulate, to look for attention? I mean, all of those points or similar points would be in the background in this relationship toward these simulated interdimensional beings in your mind. And you will hold on to that even though it's not real in actual physical reality or existence. And I mean, all of us interdimensional physical beings within existence are in no way participating in the minds of human beings. I mean, your mind is your own process. Each one only walk now their own mind, and whatever is going on in that mind is all you, your responsibility. We're in our process of walking this physical existence through our process of self-forgiveness and aligning ourselves with equality and oneness to get into the physical. I mean, it's a similar process to what all of human beings are walking in, assisting and supporting yourself to get out of what? The mind as energy into the physical. And we as the interdimensional existence were always what? Energy. So now we're in the process of becoming physical. So you, with experiencing that relationship with and within your mind with the simulated interdimensional beings, your process is equal and one and the same. You've just got to stop and get into actual physical practical living. I mean, you can see the abuse and the harm and the compromise, what's going on in your mind is creating for yourself mentally and physically. And therefore, you are the only one in your mind, and you are the only one that can take that responsibility and stop it and align your living to what will be beneficial and effective to your future on this earth and in this world. So, I mean, this is simply some of the consequences that had come through within the relationship between earth and heaven. I mean, throughout time, where all of the relationships were primarily aligned for control and enslavement purposes, and not within the context of what is really, in fact, best for beings in their lives in this world. And therefore, now we have countless amounts of human beings that believe they're having relationships with dimensional, interdimensional beings in various contexts. Relationships, sexual, abusive. I mean, some of them are really quite extreme. And what they don't realize is that all of it is really happening in your own mind only. And I mean, that doesn't make you, as who you are, insane or crazy. It is simply what and how your mind has been constructed. And you can bring yourself back to stability through writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application. So if you're one of those beings that is experiencing the relationship within your own mind to simulated dimensional, interdimensional beings, we suggest you join the Destiny forums, and we will place the thread within the description of this interview where, I mean, if you are experiencing this, we'll be and can assist and support you through your processes of writing, self-forgiveness, and self-corrective application to get yourself out of your mind back into the physical, to really take care of yourself and realize that you can stop it. Thank you very much.